Receiving.
Receiving Miro.
Receiving Miro.
I want to receive more Miro.
Oh, yes, please.
What's up, Miro?
Not too much. What's up, Ben?
Man, we're just chilling out. We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Miro Lauritz. And is that how I pronounce your last name?
Yeah, there's a few different ways, but Lauritz is probably the most correct. I say Lauritz, which I don't think is actually correct.
Well, I don't want to break it to you. I think you're wrong.
I think I am wrong.
I think you're not only wrong, but I think you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, no, I've been grappling with that for a while.
Okay, so this is, I don't know what I'm going to call this video, but probably like reharmonization for dummies.
Sure.
I'm the dummy.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Miro and I met earlier this year doing a gig called Bearded, which a mate of ours, Sean, wrote, musical theatre piece. And I was like, man, this Miro dude can fucking play. And he was doing all these like fucking jazzy reharms and stuff. And I play blues and pop music. So reharms is something that my brain doesn't quite comprehend. So I was like, Miro, come round and talk to me like I'm stupid for 20 minutes.
As I usually do.
Something.
I had to talk to him like he was stupid to get anything in. No,
It's
of course
quite
not.
demeaning, actually. So this is going to be like a little, we're just going to shoot the shit for 20 minutes, half an hour or something, about chords and about harmony and about strategies that you can use to mess about with a stock standard chord progression. So why don't we start, speaking of stock standard chord progressions, like a 12 bar blues.
Sure.
Right? So something that's uber simple, 1, 4, 5.
Sure.
In your jazzman brain head, where do you go with reharmonizations, with like tritone subs, all that other shit?
I'm sure if you're watching, most of you probably know how a 12 bar...
one's watching.
No one's watching. Okay. Well, a 12 bar blues, so there's, in general, as Ben said, the absolute basic thing. So let's go to the key of F. It's a good key, good piano key. Because this is my gig, I'm doing piano keys rather than guitar keys. Okay, so let's say an F. So classic 12 bar blues is you've got 1 for 4 bars, 4 for 4 bars, or 4 for 2 bars, then 1 for 2 bars.
Idiot.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. And then 5 for 2 bars. Sorry, 5 for 1 bar, 4 for 1 bar, and then the 1 for 2 bars. That is so simple that you will rarely hear that in any actual recording from any kind of jazz musician.
Yeah.
Now, what first happens with extending harmony as a jazz musician is, especially on the piano, the first thing that we like to do is extend the chord as much as possible. So we try and put as many extensions on top of the chord. So instead of just having a classic 7 chord, which has the dominant 7 in it, the 3rd and the 1, we start to put extra little things on it. We start to go to the 9. So in an F7 chord, that's a G. So we can do something like that. And then the next one up from that, the next common one is with a 13. So we put the D in. And what that does is that's kind of like your basic early jazz, like fundamental jazz harmonies. We have this crunch, which is between the 7, so the E flat here, and the 13 in this case. We have this crunch. Now, this is really, really important because pretty much for every chord that you want to create in a jazzy context or in a reharm context, you want a crunch of some sort that works within the context of the tune.
We like crunch.
We like crunch. Crunch, because that dissonance, and the more you get used to that dissonance, the more you enjoy when it resolves. Mm-hmm. So, so try and kind of like find little pockets where that kind of stuff works. Now I could explain like why that specific interval works with like physics and the overtone series, but that's a whole nother thing. So maybe we won't do that.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Physics? I hardly know it.
Yeah. Physica? Yeah. So the first thing we do is you want to extend the original chords just in their basic format. So for something like the F7, here I've got a classic F13 voicing where I've got an F, E flat, A, D, and F. So how would you do a 13 on there?
Usually like the guitar version of a 13 is like where you've got the flat 7, the 3rd, and then the 13.
Great. So that's a very common, that's literally this voicing, which is your E flat, A, D, classic voicing on the piano. beautiful. And yeah, there's a bunch of different versions on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that kind of voicing is the first thing that immediately makes it sound jazzier. So just chucking in that 13. Now, and so for the same thing, just to keep it simple, do that for all of the other chords. So we've got 2 other chords in this scenario. We've got the B flat 13, which is the 13 in this case would be the G. Same thing, it's the exact same shape. We've just moved it up a 4th. And then same thing for the C, which is the 5 in this case. We've got B flat, E, and A. And this is literally the exact same voicing, just moved up by a 4th and then another tone.
Which is a classic guitar thing as well. Like we just move shapes. So like for the guitarists out there, you probably know it's almost like a mirror image of that classic F shape that you play, but just like that and then.
Exactly. Yeah. It literally it's more so much shape-based stuff in music in general. So as soon as you learn a shape, you can move that around, and you can like literally, if you just keep the same things, the same intervals, you can move that through all 12 keys just like that, and it's very, very simple. Now, this isn't an overly structured way of discussing harmony, but I would say that one of the most important things with harmony that I think is kind of undersung, and I think that people sometimes forget, is that voice leading between the notes within the chord matters just as much, if not more, than the notes that you actually use in the chord, in my opinion.
Yeah, right, okay.
So, for instance, like if I'm playing an F13 down here, and then the next chord I want to play is a B flat 13, I could go to that one. That's actually not too bad voice leading. But let's say I just go here, and then I move it directly up a 4th. That's okay, but we can make that sound better. Yeah. And I think that one of the greatest things that I learned from one of my teachers is that musicians are lazy. Like, we're lazy people. Yes. And in general...
Did you hear that?
We're lazy.
Did you hear that?
Look at these forearms. Look at these forearms. They just happen naturally. He didn't do any work for that.
No. Genetics.
Genetics, baby.
Although, you haven't seen my mum's calves. That's where we get our calves from.
Oh, really?
She's just got like the most unnecessarily jacked calves.
Just from walking, or not even. Grew up like that. Came out of the womb just.
Just
Frozone.
Literally kicking and frozen.
When I say the musicians are lazy, I guess the thing is that we try to be as efficient as possible. In general, as musicians and anyone, we try to be as efficient as possible. So what we try and do is we try and take those same notes in that chord and move them in a direction. How can I explain this best?
With words, mate.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, sure. We try and use the same notes within the voicing, but we put them in a place that is closer to the first voicing, if that makes sense. So for instance, let me say, if I'm playing F7, and I've got this E flat, A, and D, I want, as a general rule, each note in that voicing to move the least amount that it possibly has to move in order to get to the next voicing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Great. So, I want to go now to a B flat voicing, B flat 13, using all the notes that I discussed before. I could, as I said, move up a 4th, but we can already see that there's notes part of that B flat voicing that are closer. I could move maybe a tone. Let's see. So I could go, let's go to B flat here. Okay. Now what I can do is I can do this one, where I literally move this E flat down to a D, which is part of the B flat voicing. I can move this A down to an A flat, literally the smallest distance possible, which is a semitone, or a half note, you Americans, who are definitely watching.
All my international audience.
Yeah, and we can do another thing, which is we can put the G in down here. We got a crunchy voicing there, but that's still probably better voice leading than if we had just gone up there. Now, another thing is that we can add other notes to make it sound nice. For instance, at B flat, we can add the 9.
Yes.
So the 9 in this case would be a C, which means that I could literally just move down one note, keep the C up the top, And that's much nicer voice leading than going.
Yeah.
It sounds just as rich and just as nice with much less movement going on. And when you're in the heat of the moment of when you're actually improvising, you want to move as little as possible.
And that's jazz, baby.
And that's jazz. Man, I could be so much more articulate. I'm realizing I'm kind of all over the place.
You're literally sitting next to me.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. You're famously articulate. I think it's most
All right,
important.
well, let me ask you some questions. So if we're talking about all of that voice leading and that kind of stuff, there are substitutions for these chords. Now, the main thing that I remember learning when I was at uni doing jazz, which was literally for a trimester, so 11, 12 weeks, not enough time to really get super close with the concepts of jazz. But tritone subs came up a lot. So a tritone substitution, for those who don't know, is we're talking about the guide tones of a seventh chord, right, which are your third and your seventh. And if let's just say we take an F7, right, which is F, E flat, and A, if we talk about our seventh and our third, if we move our root note, that F, up a whole tritone, what happens is those guide tones kind of, instead of being the seventh and the third, that being the E flat and the A, they rotate, they become the third and the flat seven of that tritone chord. So that tritone sub thing sounds super crunchy, but talking about like that tension and that dissonance, that whole thing works well purely because of that dissonance and that resolution, because those two main notes are the ones that resolve, and kind of everything else around it can be messed with. Sure,
100%. As long as you've got those pillars, like the fundamentals of the chord, and pretty much everything else on top of that, and not like there's definitely nuance there, but you can add a whole bunch of other stuff on top, and if you do it cleverly, you can really mess with the harmony as much as possible up top if your fundamentals are there. So in something like an F blues, for instance, tritone subs are really awesome because, talking about this F7, the tritone sub of an F7 is one tritone up from F, which is a B. Now, what you might notice is, so first of all, that chord, if we keep that same chord structure that we had over the F, we've got this really crunchy sound. We still got that same crunch there. But this now becomes a sharp 9 chord, which is super bluesy. You hear it all the time in blues, and it's got this kind of like punchy, it's almost like a bit of a James Bondy chord, where it's kind of a bit, it's mean. I feel like it's got a
Think of the, for those who don't know kind of much theory, but your blues cats, it's the Hendrix chord.
Sure.
That sharp 9 is...
Yeah.
It's the Hendrix.
Yeah,
chord.
exactly, because you got that bluesy...
I remember when I first learnt a sharp 9 chord from my teacher, Adrian Del Vecchio, shout out, who's nuts, like John Schofield, kind of jazzy cat.
Yeah, cool.
He was like, it's a sharp 9. And I remember, because I was in maybe like year 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So for people listening, this was probably when I was 15 or 16. I'd learnt the basics of music theory.
Yeah.
And obviously the sharp 9 enharmonically is the same as like the minor third, right?
Yes.
I remember thinking, when he told me about this sharp 9 chord, I was like, how does that work? Because it's the major third, and you can't have a minor third.
Oh, wow.
In a major
Man, what a little shit.
It's that, when you talk to people who know just enough to know they know something about something?
Yeah,
But they, in the grand scheme of things, know fuck all?
Pretty much every conversation with me. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it.
We're two sides of the same coin, you and me, Ben.
But I was that kid. I was that kid. And it was very...
Precocity.
It was very funny. It was very, yes, that's a word with syllables.
Yeah,
so tritone subs, that's something to look into. And it's fairly simple concept.
But why it works within the context of a blues progression, for instance, is so as we said before, we know we've got 4 bars of the F, for instance, and then we know that the next chord that we're going to is the 4 chord, which is the B flat. And what you might notice is that a B flat is exactly 1 semitone below a B, and B being the tritone sub. That kind of, as we talked about before, that voice leading, that minimal movement, that B leads really nicely to that F. Yeah. So for instance, let's like, you know, so you immediately like have that just as a passing chord, which in like music theory terms, a passing chord is a chord that you don't, it's not where you arrive at, it's a chord that is leading you somewhere else. Yeah. So this B flat, so I'll keep the sharp 9 in there. This B chord leads really nicely to that B flat chord. And you can do that on every chord in this progression.
And that's when it starts to sound really not like blues, but like some hectic shit.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really what I would first do is like, learn these 13s, learn the tritone subs of those 13s. So for F, we've got B with that sharp 9, which is super, super nice. And now for our B flat, if you do the same thing, we've got E. Now, and if you'll notice, what is directly 1 note above the E is our F again. So
get out of town.
Man. It's almost like music is like well thought out or something.
No, wait, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So you can go lead back up from the B flat to the E, to the F. And now final one is our C. Now, same thing. We've got a G flat or an F sharp. That's our other tritone sub. And where does that lead down to? If you look where the leads down to, directly back down to the F.
Yeah.
Super, super nice. So if you learn all of those in isolation first, so F and B, B flat and E, C and G flat. So now you've got all your tritone subs. Mess around with those. And then what's really important is where you place them. As I was saying before, I kind of gave you a little taste with the B before. So we go B leading to B flat. And now let's go back. And then you could go B flat, E, F. Yeah. And now we can go to the B flat, back to the F. And now we go to the C.
So that's a classic. Speaking of passing chords, chromatic passing chords are a big, big thing.
Sure.
And chromatic passing chords are just literally, we're going, they work really well if you're moving like a tone away from the current chord.
Sure.
And it's basically you just take the same structure of chord that you have and play the one in between.
Yeah.
The one that you're going to.
Exactly.
Very classic.
Very, very classic. And what so as I did just there. And what's interesting as well is if you look at the C, the chord that's in between the B flat and the C is the B. It's the tritone sub of F.
I just realized that.
Yeah, man.
Dude. Okay.
Which is why chromatic passing tones work so well. It's because they're literally also the tritone sub. It's the dominant, like, because that F leads to the B flat.
Man.
Yeah, man. That's why chromatics work so well, dude.
Dude, I have a degree in this shit.
I don't yet have a degree in this shit. I'm still at uni, bro. I gotta finish that.
Oh, man. It's never occurred to me that chromatic passing chord from the 5 back down to the 4 is just the tritone sub of the 1.
Yeah.
God, I'm a fucking disgrace.
No. Well, it's funny because if you just think about it as chromatic, because you hear the chromatic passing stuff, often people think of it, I think, more texturally than they actually think about the theory behind it. Like, because it just sounds good. Yeah, nice, bro. Nice. But yeah, it kind of works as a textural thing.
Yes.
It's a directional thing. It feels cool. That when you actually kind of break it down, the theory still works behind it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like extra. You can be extra confident about using a chromatic passing tone. But so we got to the B flat there, and now that arrives back to the F. But now let's say on our final bar of the 12 bar blues, and the 12th bar, we want to lead back to our F on the first bar. We use another passing chord. Instead of going back to the C, we can use a tritone sub. Exactly. And that leads us back to... Cool. So should we play in time a blues and try and use every tritone sub? So let's go, we'll start on F, and then we'll just say F for the first 4 bars, and then we'll go B for the 4th bar to B flat.
Yep.
And then the second bar of B flat we'll do E.
Yep.
And then we'll do F. And then we'll do, for the next 4 bars, we'll do C. And then...
Sweet.
Cool.
All right.
One,
Count us in, Miro.
2, 1, 2, 3, and... Don't get me fun sound. Yeah. B. E. Yeah. And C. And then... Cool. So already we've started, so all that we've done so far is we've just added 13s.
Yep.
And then we've understood tritone substitutions. And we stayed on those chords for the whole time. We didn't do any other passing chords apart from our tritone substitutions using that shape and the sharp 9 shape. So we've entered into jazzy territory. And so it's amazing how much you can do just with that kind of information. Now, we only did 1 chorus, so if you kept doing that every chorus, it'd get a little bit boring. But we've already kind of opened that world up for ourselves.
Yeah, and that for a soloing context as well. Like if you want to, let's just say the backing is just a straight normal 12 bar. Like if you're doing a blues jam or something, which is like it's where I live. No one's going to be throwing in tritone subs. But there are things you can do. Like if over that F dominant, if you're going to the 4 chord, if no one else is doing that B, that tritone sub, you can arpeggiate that chord as part of your solo to go to that. To go to that, and then all the dentists playing PRS custom 24s with 10 tops will look over and go like, "That's not fucking blues," and that's.
But you're not playing for them, you're playing for you.
Yeah, it's a very fun reaction when you get that, when you're up there playing some like whack shit, and then you just, all of a sudden you see all the people
be careful now, boy.
That wasn't a Clapton lick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I would suggest like the next step from that point onwards. So this isn't even soloing yet. That's just playing the chords as they are. Now, I think what it's important if you want to practice that stuff, move those voicings, be able to play those voicings everywhere on the keys, on the guitar. So there's like, 5 different ways of playing that on the guitar. Yeah. And the best thing is and this just takes time, but getting comfortable in pretty much every register of the instrument. And then, what are some other things we can talk about? We can talk about like just spicing up the blues form in general.
Yeah, so we can talk about adding in 2-5-1s,
sure,
like 3-6-2-5-1. And...
Great. So so let's do that. So in there's kind of 3 blues forms that we kind of regularly talk about as our basic blues forms in jazz.
Yep.
We've got our 12 bar, which is what we played, which is the most basic. Mm-hmm. And even then, people spice that up just kind of naturally by putting in extra chords.
Yep.
Then we have the second thing, which we're going to talk about now, called the jazz blues. And then we have a third thing called a bird blues, which is based off Charlie Parker's, who's he's a pioneering bebop saxophonist, probably the greatest of all time. But we won't talk about that today because it's kind of a bit obscure. But the jazz blues, what we start doing is we now start having a chord per bar that is essentially creating a system for all of these passing chords to happen within. So let's stay in F. So we've got our first, we start on the F, but then we immediately go to the B flat on the second bar, and then we go back down to the F. And now, this next bar, I'm going to show you what it is and explain what it is later. We do this thing, we go C minor to F7 to B flat. So what we just did there was the like fundamental jazz thing called a 2-5-1.
Yes.
And a 2-5-1 means the second chord of a key, the fifth chord of a key, to the one chord of the key. Now, the fifth chord of a key is famously known as the dominant.
Yes.
And that dominant is the thing that always leads back to the tonic. Now, what is great about a 2-5-1 is you can play a 2-5-1 completely unrelated to the chord that you were just playing, and that can lead us to a new tonality.
Yes, right.
And so what this jazz blues does is it treats each section of the blues, or each 4-bar section, as kind of a new tonality. Not completely, but those 2-5-1s for a second treat it as a new tonality. So, for instance, where for the fifth bar of the blues form, the second 4 bars, we go to B flat. And what that fourth bar is doing is it's kind of pretending for a second that we are going to be in the key of B flat in general. And so the way that it does that is it plays the 2 chord of B flat major, or B flat bebop scale, which in this case is a C minor. And the way that you can look at that is, okay, well, a C is I'm not sure how in depth to go here, but a C is the second chord of the B flat scale. So we go C minor. And then what we do is we just jazz it up a little bit by putting the 7th on. And then we do the extra thing on a minor chord, which is the next like basic extension, which is we put the 9th on. So C, E flat, G, B flat, D. And I'm playing it in this inversion where I put B flat. And then that, if you look closely, leads very nicely to the 5 chord of B flat, which in this case is F7. And then that goes to B flat, or... So that's a 2-5-1 is what we've just described there. And so you can do that. That 2-5-1 exists for every key. And you can play those exact voicings for every key. And it's a beautiful way of creating a nice little bit of tension that then resolves. So you can do that to any of the one chords. So if you want to come back from B flat to the F, you can go your G minor, C7, back to that F13. When you want to go to the 5 chord, you can do your D minor to G to C7, and then etc. so on so forth. And then from there, again, if we're talking about like tritone substitutions and things, the 2-5. You can tritone sub the 5 in the 2-5-1. To then give you like extra sort of spice. So now you're playing all sorts of crazy, wacky chromatic chords that weren't even close. But they function. Exactly, they function well.
And what's functional harmony?
Functional harmony. And what's great about the jazz blues form that we're discussing here is that it gives you quite clear places where that can happen naturally and where it feels good as a musician. So if we do the same thing again, so we go F, B flat, F, a C, F, B flat. Great. And then what we do is we just do another passing chord, which is we just make that B flat a B diminished, which leads very nicely to, which is the 5th of our F. So this is where voice leading all comes in. Man, there's so much to talk about. So just on a simple blues form, there's so much to talk about. And then we end up on that F again. And then again on the 8th bar, so the last bar of the second 4 bars, we then do another 2-5-1. But we do a 2-5-1 to an interesting chord. I'll play it first. We do this called a... And we land on our G minor 7 on the 9th bar. And that G minor 7 is the 2 chord of F. And that G minor 7 then sets us up for a bigger 2-5-1.
Holy heck.
So we do a mini 2-5-1 on that final 8th bar. Sorry, the 8th bar, which the final bar of the middle 4 bars. So leading us to a big 2-5-1 that happens over 2 bars, G minor for 1 bar, C for 1 bar, C7 for 1 bar, back to F7. So, to put that all together, we've got the first 4 bars, we've got F, second bar B flat, third bar F, and then 2-5-1 on 4th bar to B flat, with a diminished going up to F over C. Now we've got a 2-5-1 to G minor, and our 2-5-1 to F. And then we can do a 2-5-1 back to F. Beautiful. So what we've done there is we've put in 3 2-5-1s plus passing chords. So there's a chord every bar now in this jazz blues. So this is a bit of a leap from the first one that we were talking about, but this is like your fundamental jazz blues, and pretty much everyone will do this all the time. If you ever play at a jazz jam, this is kind of the basic form. So yeah, we've put a 2-5-1 on the 4th bar. We've put a 2-5-1 on the 8th bar, and we've got now a bigger 2-5-1, a macro 2-5-1 on the 9th and the 10th bar. And now we've got extra, as Ben was just saying, we've got extra fodder for tritone substitutions. All of those 2-5-1s can be done as tritone substitutions.
He's gonna die!
Oh, is it?
Help!
Oh no.
That's fine. We will continue in 5 seconds.
Great. All right, so we've just explained
back.
2-5-1s.
We just have explained 2-5-1s. Now, something to, maybe we could finish on this. Conceptually, the 5 chord, the dominant chord, resolves down a 5th or upper 4th, whatever, to a tonic chord, right? A 2 to the 5 is a movement of a 4th up, right?
Yes, it is, yes. Or a 5th down.
Or a 5th down.
Yeah.
Theoretically, those 2s, which are minor chords, you could turn those into dominant chords. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If you felt so inclined and really wanted to, ruin someone's day. You could absolutely do that. You could turn all of these chords into dominant chords.
Yes.
And just for the sake of it. And I think that's
Sure.
like the main thing that I want to get across with this.
Sure.
Is like just the rules exist. The rules are very helpful to know. But the rules are not the be all end all of anything. If you I always bring up this example. There's a guitarist Guthrie Govan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Guthrie was doing a performance with Billy Sheehan, bass player, doing "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers," which is the Jeff Beck tune written by Stevie Wonder. And the chords for that in the solo section are C minor, A flat major 7 or whatever, F minor 7 to the G dominant. Right? And over that G dominant chord, you'd go, well, cool, if I'm going to play something relating to G, I'd play G mixolydian, right? And I remember listening to this at uni, and I brought it to my teacher, Glenn Cannon, and I was like, what's Guthrie doing here?
Yeah,
He's doing something that's wrong, but it's amazing, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And Glenn listened to it once and picked up on it immediately, because of course he did, he's Glenn Cannon. And he's like, oh, he's just playing straight G major. And I'm like, really? That sound is possible?
Wow.
By just playing a G major scale over a G dominant chord that resolves to a C minor. So it's things like that. You go, oh, well, you shouldn't be playing a G major scale because that's got the natural 7 and the dominant chord has the flat 7. So naughty Guthrie.
Yeah,
but
interesting.
At the end of the day, the concept is fuck you or do what I want. And that's all there is to it. Really.
Sure.
So, no, thanks, Miro.
No, my
I
pleasure.
appreciate it, man. It's a
worries.
lot of fun to kind of chat harmony with you. But
Of course, brother.
for us bluesy cats out there, this is going to give us enough to chew on
For sure.
a hot minute. So
Yeah.
come back to the video in bits and just work through the concepts, really, because that's all it's about. It's just concepts. We're not talking about licks or soloing or anything like that. We're just talking about straight harmony.
Sure.
Which is a lot of fun. So if you've got any questions or you want to tell us to shut up, there's a comment section below, so do with that what you will.
Sure. Yeah.
If you specifically want to tell him to shut up,
Yeah,
don't
please.
abuse me because I'm soft and
Yeah,
fragile.
yeah. No, as you can see, he's a very soft egg yolk of a man. But me, I'm an oak tree.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
Stalwart and stoic in
Exactly.
his general disposition.
Yeah, I've read Marcus Aurelius, bro. No, I haven't.
It's all right, neither have I. I haven't read much. Spot Goes to the Park, banger.
Yes, Clifford the Big Red Dog. I'm all over that.
Yeah, yeah.
I read all of the Zach Power series as a kid. You know, the little boy spy, secret agent.
The Day My Bum Went Psycho.
The day my... Okay, now we're talking about classic literature. Dostoevsky, eat your heart out. Andy Griffiths, that's who I love, mate.
And on the next episode of this, we will be talking about shitty children's books from Australian mid-2000s.
The Pencil of Doom, Just Stupid, Just Tricky, or the Just series. Yep.
I had all of those.
Terry Denton's amazing illustrations.
Yep. Yes.
Wow.
Well, this got off topic. Anyway, the video is done now. Go home. Go practice. Yeah.